What up, everybody? It's your boy Sack the King up in this motherfucker, man. Back with another life story. Now, I told y'all about the time that I joined the Army at 17. If you haven't watched that story yet, go back and watch that one, man, because it's pretty interesting. Now, here is the follow-up to that. Once I got to A.I.T. Now, I'd already told y'all that I felt kind of betrayed and duped by my recruiter because when I went to Fort Knox, it was all male basic training. And they told me that I had picked a job where it was all nothing but females, right? So here we go. Boom. I'm in Fort Lee, Virginia. This is 2000. This is the end of 2000, right? The December of 2000, I got there. December 6th of 2000, I got to Fort Lee, Virginia. And, you know, to be honest with you, like, there was a situation that happened that was one of the most pivotal moments in my life. And I'll tell y'all that story another time because it has to do with A.I.T., but this story is mainly about A.I.T. So when I get off the bus, right, boom, hey, man, I'll bullshit you not, nigga. It was like, oh, nigga. Hey, the bitch ratio to niggas was like 10 to 1. Let me say that again. Females to men, it was like 10 to 1. So I felt like a motherfucking lion sitting on top of Pride Rock overlooking the flock of nothing but females to get his big old cock. You feel what I'm saying, man? Yeah. It was nothing but bitches up in there, man. So, man, A.I.T. was the shit, man. I used to have so much fucking fun in A.I.T., bruh. Like, me and my boy Ross, like I said from the other story, man, my boy Ross was one of the most downest niggas I ever met, man. Shout out to Ross, James Edgar Ross from Columbia, South Carolina, man. Where you at, bro? Where you at, man? If you ever see this, tap in with your boy. If anybody out there in the YouTube world knows James Edgar Ross from South Carolina, Columbia, South Carolina, man, tell him to tap in with his boy, man. Me and Ross ended up being roommates, man. That was my dog right there, man. We used to kick it all night, man. Like Ross, this nigga used to go into the shopette, right? And this nigga would steal CDs and go bring them back to customer service and get money for them motherfuckers. This is before motherfuckers got on to the scam, you know, because you could do that at all kind of department stores, and now they'll just give you a gift card. But back then they used to give you cash, so that nigga was cashing out, you know what I'm saying? But I remember me and Ross was doing the most, man. Like, we was two rebels, man. I remember one time, right, we had this Super Bowl party. Like I said, I got there in December of 2000. This was the Super Bowl of 2001. I want to say the Patriots was playing somebody. This might have been like their very first Super Bowl. I forget who they was playing, right? But we had a Super Bowl party up in our motherfucking room. And our room was kind of like big. But what I did was I went and bought a little TV. A little 13-inch TV, right? And they didn't know I had this fucking TV because in A.I.T. it's advanced individual training. This is where they teach you your job for the Army, right? So they like a little bit more relaxed than basic training, but you still can't be doing a bunch of wild shit like we was doing. But nigga, I'm wilding, right? So this is what I did. I went and got me a little 13-inch TV and I hooked it up and I went and bought some alcohol, right? I had somebody go and buy some alcohol from the shopette. And we had a bunch of alcohol, and I said, nigga, I'm about to throw a Super Bowl party around this bitch. And I'm going to, because my room could fit probably like 15 people up in there. But I was charging $10 a head to come into my room and watch the Super Bowl. But I was rotating niggas in and out. Like, if you bought something, you could kick it for like 15 minutes, and then you had to go out for like 5 minutes and let some other niggas come in. And then I would rotate them niggas out. So me and Ross ended up making like $300 that night because we was selling like drinks and everything. Like, we had a whole bunch of Aftershock. We had a bunch of like off-brand ass shit. It wasn't no Hennessy or nothing. It was like Aftershock, some fucking cheap ass vodka. It might have been like some fucking Boone's Farm. We had shit like that. Some old off-brand shit, right? So I remember it was this nigga across the hall. He used to cut hair. But this nigga used to like really think he was the shit, right? So he up in the party, you know what I'm saying? And I remember when the Super Bowl shit was over, he was like, hey man, you should just let me hold the alcohol in my room. I'm like, for what, bruh? But he really just wanted to drink some more, you know what I'm saying? But Ross was like, shit, yeah, let the nigga hold the alcohol. Like, we don't need to keep it in my room. I'm like, hey, you know what? That's a good ass idea. So we let him keep it in his room, you know what I'm saying? Longer story short, hey, they did a motherfucking sweep of the barracks the very next day, right? Somebody must have snitched on my Super Bowl party because they came straight to our room and to that room across the hall. And they found my TV and they found the alcohol in that nigga room. And I remember him getting into hella trouble for having a whole backpack full of alcohol, but he never snitched. I don't even remember what this nigga's name was, but he didn't snitch and say, he could have easily said, man, it was theirs. They just made me hold it. But he didn't snitch, man. Real nigga. I don't remember your name, but hey, real nigga, man. But I remember them taking away all my weekend passes after that, right? So they took away my weekend pass. But nigga, me, I'm a rebel. Hey, every weekend, I was going out still. Nigga, I was sneaking off posts. I was going to the Howard Johnson, nigga. I had a little bitch. Matter of fact, she's in one of these stories that I'm going to tell called Married for One Day. Married for One Night. I don't know which one I'm going to call it, but Married for One Night, man. Years later, hella years later, she ends up, ironically, the chick that I used to sneak out to the Howard Johnson with, ironically, was the person that I married for one day. So stay tuned for that story, man. Anyway, so I used to sneak out to the Howard Johnson, bruh. Me and Ross, we didn't give a fuck, you know what I mean? We used to rent rooms and have little parties up in that bitch, you know what I mean? Man, another thing me and Ross used to do is order Chinese food, right? So we took the screen off of our window, you know what I'm saying? And we used to go down to the payphone, and this is when they had payphones, nigga, they ain't had cell phones then. We used to go down to the payphone and call up, but we would take orders from everybody in the barracks, you know what I'm saying? And bro, we was making like $10 a plate off of that shit. If the plate was $10, we was charging them niggas $20 and just keep it. But what we would do is we had a whole bunch of sheets, right? A whole bunch of extra sheets, and we would fucking, put a backpack down, and they would put all the food in the backpack, and we would just pull that bitch up, empty it out, wheel it back down. And we was giving the Chinese nigga like a $20 tip every time. So every single night we was doing this shit though, right? And we was making hella money doing this shit. So we was doing that, right? That was another one of our hustles. But there was this nigga named Whoopi, man. I don't remember this nigga's name, but he was from Myrtle Beach, man. We helped this nigga go AWOL in A.I.T. And one day he came in there and he was like, man, fuck this shit. Now, mind you, we in Virginia. So he from like Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. But it's not too far from each other, right? We had like Richmond, Virginia, Norfolk area. And he's from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I don't know how far that is. But I know it's like damn near the next state, right? So I remember one day Whoopi came in there and he was like, man, I gotta get up out of here, man. I'm about to go AWOL. We was like, go AWOL. He was like, yeah, but I can't go out, at this time it's hella late at night. And they got drill sergeants on each floor at the very end. So you're not getting past them. They're gonna be like, where the fuck you think you going? You know what I'm saying? So Whoopi was like, man, I'll give y'all each $100 if you just let me get out your window. We like, huh? He like, yeah, man, that sheet that y'all be using for the Chinese food, man, just let me rappel. And mind you, we in the army, so we practice rappelling and all that shit. So we was like, man, are you sure? He like, yeah. He gave us both $100, and we let Whoopi rappel down from like 4 floors all the way down. Till this day, never seen Whoopi again, right? I remember the next day, they was like, hey, where is such and such? I forget the nigga name. We used to call him Whoopi because in basic training, he came to basic training. This before you get your haircut. He had some dreadlocks, but he was looking like, and some glasses, but he looked just like Whoopi Goldberg, bro. So ever since then, we called that nigga Whoopi. I don't think we ever called that nigga by his real name. He hated the name, but hey, what can you do when it's a bunch of us calling you that shit and you want to fit in with us? Hey, man, nigga, you Whoopi. You know what I'm saying? So I remember the next day, for like maybe not even only the next day, for like the next 2 days, they was like calling his name. And only me and Ross and maybe Clark only knew that we let this nigga go AWOL out of our room, you know what I'm saying? So, hey, they wrote that nigga up as AWOL, you know what I'm saying? Absent without leave, you know what I mean? And I don't know if they ever caught up to Whoopi. I don't know where he's at. I wish I knew his real name. I wish I could remember that shit. But yeah, we hope that nigga escape and leave leave A.I.T that night, man. And longer story short, shit, I ended up getting married in A.I.T, man. And that's a whole nother story I'm gonna tell y'all. But I remember them in A.I.T when we first got there. They was like, hey, don't be a statistic. Don't get married in A.I.T. People come here, they think they found the love of their life in A.I.T, and they get married. And I remember thinking to myself, nigga, all these bitches, I ain't getting married in no A.I.T. It was like a little joke. But let me tell you this, out of my platoon of 30 people, I think 5 of us ended up getting married. You know what I'm saying? And I was one of them. And my ex-wife, she wasn't in my platoon. She was just there in like G company. I was in Mike company. And yeah, man, that was A.I.T, man. I had a lot of good times in A.I.T because I just didn't give a fuck. I was smoking weed in A.I.T. I was sneaking out in A.I.T. I was trying to hustle whatever money I could hustle, just like basic training. If y'all go back and watch that I joined the army at 17, you'll see, man, or them YCP stories too. Man, I always been about some hustling, about getting some money, man. Like anybody who ever knew me at any point in life, they'll tell you, man, that nigga Sack be getting some money, man. You feel me? Still to this day, man, I'm just doing it the legal way. But anyways, man, yeah, I'm going to tell y'all the story about getting married in A.I.T because I made one decision that changed my life forever. And it wasn't getting married. It was what happened prior to getting married, all right? So stay tuned for that story. Stay tuned for the story about Married for One Night. All right, I'm going to tell that one next. So hit that subscribe button below so you can be the first to know and help the channel grow. And I'm out.